Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mind Movers, where we take the talk from dentistry to mental health to business. And I feel like we've had a real pivot in the last couple of months since I've been back, where we're really also moving the conversations towards business as well, which I think is actually really tied into mental health. I'm so excited today that we have Dr. Vanita, who's also known as Dr. V. She is an Instagram friend, and I've been following her for a long time because she is a powerhouse. She owns a skincare brand which is specifically targeted to women of colour. And for me, this really resonated because being somebody that's Middle Eastern, that's tanned, I always struggled with my own skincare growing up. And Dr. V has taken this on like a champion. She has basically confronted issues which have been stigmatized or taboo, to have those conversations and said, hey, we need different skincare for different reasons. So I'm really proud to have Dr. V on the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Welcome.
excited. Thank you.
So, Dr. V, I obviously saw you because your social following is so engaged. But what I want to do is I want to start from the beginning. Can you take us back to the very beginning? I know that you're a doctor. I want to know where you qualified and how the skincare journey started.
So I have a really unique story. So I did medicine at UCL. It literally was my dream since I was 13 years old, and my cousin had gotten in, and that's what I wanted to do. And after medical school, my parents had a company which was a cosmetics company. And I was fascinated with how ingredients work together. And I realized that actually no one was creating products for skin of color. And so I went into the lab after medical school. So after I qualified, I became a doctor. I went into the lab and I did 18 months as an apprentice. And I then became a cosmetic formulator. And at this time, this is not a normal journey, right? Doctors don't leave the NHS and go and learn how to make creams.
Yeah, of course.
It goes against the whole Indian mentality.
Yes.
But I felt like no one was doing it, and there was this huge unmet need.
Yeah.
And so we actually created something called the Hyperpigmentation Clinic. So I had a chain of 8 clinics around the world. We created the world's first professional grade treatment for pigmentation for skin of color. Wow. We ran that for 8 years until COVID hit. Yeah.
But slow down.
That's so impressive. I'm like,
to get to 8 clinics owned by you around the world.
Yeah.
How did you negotiate that? I mean, you're a doctor at the end of the day.
Yeah, so it was quite good. So my parents are also in business, and so
but not doctors.
So my dad's a doctor, my mum's a pharmacist.
Okay.
They had their own cosmetics company, so that's how I learned, was from their cosmetic formulator, and so they already had connections around the world. And so when
but I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
Did they also? What was their perception of practicing medicine versus using medicine as a tool to do business? Right, because that's different, right?
It is different. And actually, I think they're very entrepreneurial.
Fine.
I think my parents are very entrepreneurial. I think generally everybody I know is, like my whole family, extended family, we all tend to have a profession and we all have a business as well.
Okay.
This is like very normal. So for me to do business with my medical knowledge was just like water. It was like second nature for me.
Yeah.
And they already had the connections. So because we were already on Harley Street, we were in Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, then the next step was, where outside of the country should we go to? So we did South Africa, we're Mauritius, we did India.
All at the same time?
One after the other. So, and Pakistan. So we literally, it was like 6 months apart, 6 months apart.
Told you.
Unbelievable.
It was really hard. Honestly, managing businesses abroad.
Who funded that? Did the sales fund that?
Yeah, so the company here, my business here, was funding the expansion. So it was very organic. I've never borrowed money. I've always bootstrapped. Even to this day, we're bootstrapped. I feel like you're more frugal and you're more intentional with every pound, more cost-benefit analysis when it's your money.
Okay, so with the first skincare clinic, what was the sort of premise? So were you the treating practitioner? Did you have a team of therapists? How did it work?
It started off with just me, and I was doing the consultations and the treatments.
Okay.
Then as we got bigger, we then hired a team of practitioners. And so, we had a team around the country. And then again abroad. I would train and then they would practice. Now, this ran for 8 years and it was an amazing
What was it
treatment,
called?
the Hyperpigmentation Clinic. So it was this wonderful clinic. We had amazing results, and then COVID hit. And we didn't know what to do. We were hemorrhaging money because of we couldn't do furlough. All our practitioners were self-employed.
Yeah.
So we were just losing money everywhere. And I was trying to pay practitioners even though nobody was working, because what's everyone supposed to do? And we had to make a really difficult decision, which was cut this incredible business that we have, keep the laboratory, and then figure out in my late 30s, can I learn how to navigate social media?
So at this point, the clinics had been built just through word of mouth and traditional marketing.
No traditional marketing.
Fine.
Traditional marketing. So like Google Ads
and like SEO and things like that.
Yeah. And starting of starting of Instagram, but very like trying, but not really understanding it properly. Then during COVID, I literally purchased all the dummies guides to all the different Instagram and YouTube and every single book for YouTube. I literally studied it like a degree. So I studied social media like a degree. And in those 2 years, I decided, right, we're going to figure out how to become an influencer, figure out, can I build enough of a following? Are enough people interested in skin of color that I can use my lab to formulate for them? And is this enough to have a life, like to build a life, to build a business? And these are all lots of ifs, right? Because don't forget, I grew up at a time without even Facebook. I was at university without Facebook.
Yeah.
So we weren't really part of this world. And it just so happened that everybody was at home, everyone was excited about skincare, and people were watching YouTube videos. So we started to grow. And as I grew, I would ask my following, hey guys, what would you like me to make next? I would take them into the lab with me. I'd film. I'd literally be saying, do you want this ingredient? Do you want this ingredient? Do you want this color packaging? Literally built it with my people. That's why this community is so strong. It's in the DNA of this business. They've been there from day one, like the whole way, answering questions and building this thing with me. So this is also why I feel like it couldn't have failed, because if it was me on my own, yes, it could have failed. High possibility of it failing, but we were doing it together. How do you fail when you have thousands of people guiding you?
They kind of call that build in public, right?
Yeah.
And Glossier was a bit like that. It started off as a blog.
Yeah, exactly.
But what you're saying there is really super important. It's not something you can measure.
Yeah.
That sort of fandom, that sort of the way purpose almost behind it.
That love.
I do think there's something to be said. What I think is very important is that you distinguish the difference between a following and a community, because people can have a following, but if the following is not engaged and don't feel like they're going to die hard by the founder, people actually don't sell. And we've seen this with influencers online. For influencers that have 1 or 2 million followers, they bring out their own product and the product flops. And I do believe that is representative of the community they've built. The community are almost saying, I kind of trust you, but not enough to buy what you're actually selling. Yeah. And I think that that's important. So the thing is that you built a community, not a following. Yeah. And I think that's where the key distinction lies.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. I call my people, my skin of color family, we're a tribe. It's not, and I don't even like the word following, because what does that even mean? Like, I'm serving them and I'm following them. That's how I feel. And even like when I sign off my letters, always love Dr. V. Every Instagram, I know it's not professional, but that's how I feel. So much love for what we're doing.
So did you launch this in 2020 then, the skincare brand?
2021. So like 2020, we were just finding our feet. I think I launched our first product, which it's such a crazy product what we launched with, right? It was called the Lip Hyperpigmentation Kit.
Yeah.
This is a £100 kit for lip hyperpigmentation in skin of color. You could not be more niche.
Yeah.
It's not a pigmentation serum. It's for one specific part of the face. And it's so expensive. And that sold out.
Wow.
And when that sold out, which we had to buy in the thousands.
Proof of concept.
Yes. I realized, hold on, what about everything else?
Yeah.
What about head to toe, cradle to grave, everything?
Yeah.
What about all the things that we need? Forget lip pigmentation.
I love the way you think.
Do you know what? That's the NHS like slogan.
Yeah. So at this point, did you go to your parents as mentors for all
always,
of this?
The whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time. They've always been very good guides. And they've been in this world. They've been in this industry. Although they don't understand social media as much, so we've always had like that sort of tension, like I'm explaining, and my dad, for example, is like, keep it very medical, come from the science, come from the medicine.
They get it wrong.
No, he's right. He's so right, but how do you deliver the medicine in a way that
is understandable.
An auntie is going to understand, or a child's going to understand.
But you jump on the trends, because I think what we do is very similar. It's like the dentists and stuff that are obsessed with like, no, I'm going to be very clinical. And the problem is that the social media is built around relatability. It's not built on like how beautiful. And the thing is that you'll see a much more talented dentist or doctor, and they get so irate seeing like general dentists or doctors do better. And I'm like, listen, the point is that people buy the thing, they buy the people. Do you see what I mean? They're not buying the product or the service. They're actually buying people.
Yeah.
And I think that they find it really hard to resonate with. Did you go through a grieving period though with your clinics?
We didn't have time. I was in fight or flight, like a lot of us were during COVID. I had 2 children in private school. I had a house to pay for. There was no time. It was just, you need to become very matter of fact in a crisis. And I don't know about other people, but I do. I go straight into, right, cut this, move on. We have to do this, right? I was making 5 YouTube videos a week.
Wow.
I was producing hundreds of pieces of content a week and bombing on at least 70% of them weren't working. And for about a year and a half, I would say it wasn't really very good content. Like I could have, like now I look back, I sometimes cringe at some of the stuff that I've done. And you have to go through the cringe like mountain.
What's really interesting to me is the pivot.
Yeah.
Because you would have thought that getting to 8 clinics in such a short period of time is a successful endeavor.
Yeah.
And then COVID comes along, and instead of you just rebuilding and doing that again, you completely pivoted to this whole social media thing. And that's a superpower, right?
We didn't have a choice. I think I would love to think that was all me, but we just actually didn't have a choice because we didn't know how long this thing was going to go on for.
Yeah.
And we couldn't rebuild. Like we had to do something now. And I had a certain amount of savings. Either I go through my savings, draw it down to nothing and pray that, there'll be a time that we can come back, or like you just have faith in yourself. And one thing I will say about myself is I feel like I can achieve anything. There's nothing I can't do.
I love that.
I do feel like I've got this
do you think
like
you were
ability.
Overextending though, that COVID destroyed the business so quickly?
Meaning that I should have waited longer, or would you think?
No, that you were reinvesting too quickly.
It was we went through as much pain as I think we could have taken, as much uncertainty. You know what I don't like is when I don't have control over what's happening. If I'm reliant, for example, on the government or COVID or other people, external factors, that's what gives me the most anxiety. If I feel like, right, I've made the decision that I'm now stopping this thing and I'm going to do this thing that is in my power, I feel like I can do anything.
There's something to be said, and I guess this is probably a question for both of you. When is too long too long? And what I mean by that is,
really
I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and she does something in the media industry, and she goes, I want to pack it in. I've been doing it for 10 years. And same, I have a friend who had a very successful jewelry company. And in the last 2 years, she's making net loss. And the reason is because gold has gone up and all of these external factors. And she goes, I've spent 10 years building this brand. And she goes, I'm kind of tired.
Yeah.
And she goes, and I can't anymore. I can't do it. And I just don't know, like, when do you think is the right time? Because even with Enlighten or even the Dr. V skincare brand, obviously you're never going to be in a position of a business. Some people are, and they're really lucky where you're in a constant like growth spurt. And then I think there is a real skill for people.
I mean, even those businesses are trying.
Then they sell quickly.
They're trying 30, 40 things before 3 or 4 things actually make it. Like I'm sure you've done.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Do you think there is a thing as too long? 30 years, 40 years?
No, but even within a product, sometimes you put a lot of emotional effort into a product, and then you've been up a few cul-de-sacs, and eventually you've worked it out. Now it's not selling as well as it could, and sometimes you put emotion into the journey it took to get to that product. And some accountant might say just cut that product. Sanj, my partner, she's like so happy to kill products, but I've been through so much pain to get to the. But it's one of those things.
But do you think there is a year time period, or do you think it's just dependent?
Depending on the situation, but some people are better at it than others. And the weird thing is, you've got the other side where sticking at stuff is one of the cornerstones of success. Like being around,
especially for in the impatient climate that we're living in. What about you, Dr. V?
I think there's an opportunity cost, and that's what people sometimes miss.
Go for it.
So for example, say you're in a job that you hate, but all you can see is this job, and all you know is how much time it's taken you to understand this job and get the job. And what you might not be seeing, and the lens you might not be looking at, is what else you could have done with your talent in that period of time. And sometimes we get scared, and sometimes we have a sunk cost mentality where you've invested all of this time into something and now you can't let go.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm a little bit unemotional in that respect. I'm very emotional in many respects, but in this respect, when it comes to opportunity cost, I feel like you only have a certain number of years, productive years, before old age and Alzheimer's kicks in.
Interesting.
Have I, in that very limited time, which is my only limiting resource, have I maximized it? Am I wasting my time on anything that is not going to bring me joy and not make me feel proud? And so when it even came to the clinics, it was, I could have carried on. And prior to that, I've had other businesses. So Ace Medicine, for example, was my first ever company. It was a medical education company. We trained 10,000 students to get into medical school. It was.
I feel like I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was my first. You probably did. It was like it was really big. It was for dentistry as well. So we did medicine and dentistry.
I didn't know of it.
So that was my first company, and we shut that when it was highly profitable. Again, like the pigmentation clinic, we shut it when it was highly profitable because of opportunity cost. So we were at that point transitioning to the hyperpigmentation clinic, and this was doing so well that my time was more valued here than it was there. So even though this was a highly profitable business and actually anyone would have been so happy with it, we shut it. So,
but that's the thing, like this is what I'm saying, it is a bit of a skill as well, because there were some clinics that probably were only open for like 1 or 2 years, and then they actually sold during COVID because the opportunity is that the EBITDA of the businesses looked really high because dentistry boomed during COVID, which is different to what you had. And so those clinics, when they saw the opportunity. They were like, you know what, I could probably work in this for another 5-10 years, even though like I know a clinic that only been open for 2 years, but they were on that composite bonding boom. Numbers look really high and they sold out for a really high amount. And then you think, why not? Do you see what I mean?
Lucky timing as well. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. It's one of those things.
Yeah. So also I want to move on. So you were saying obviously that you had the pressures, you knew that you had a lot of responsibilities. What does your partner do?
So we're in business together. We've been business together from the beginning.
Doctor as well?
No, he did economics at UCL. So we were dating at uni. We got married straight after I graduated. And actually on my engagement day, he was working at Lehman Brothers as a trader.
Okay.
On our engagement day, do you remember when Lehman Brothers collapsed?
Yes.
And the men were coming out with their boxes? My husband was one of those men.
No way.
And at the party, our engagement party, it was like some commiseration. Everyone was like, I'm so sorry. Instead of like, congratulations, it's like, are you okay? And my poor husband, like the sweetest man you've ever met, he just like, he just didn't know what to do with his face.
Yeah.
Like, this is like not the best party. Like,
that's so funny.
Any other day.
So then what happened?
So actually on that day, my dad said to him, to my husband, she needs you in business. And this is when I was just launching Ace Medicine. So this was my first company. We launched, did you guys do OSCEs for dentistry?
Of course, yeah.
So we created something called AC OSCE. We won the British Medical Association Book Awards against my Dean of Medicine, which was like incredible as a 24-year-old girl. And that I was launching that. I'd spent the last year and a half at medical school putting that together. So it's a video library of before YouTube, a video library of every OSCE, imagine, with a book that goes with it. So we launched that, and there are all these courses coming, but I'm not as good on the finances like my husband is. Like he's really good at the minutiae. I'm like,
my husband
big
works in a hedge fund.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too. I'm big picture.
I'm like big picture, like go.
He's in minutiae.
Minutiae. Like don't do that. We're not doing this. We're not spending money here. So actually I needed him. I would have been bankrupt without him.
Yeah.
So it's the best thing ever when Lehman Brothers went under for us, touch wood, and that he, trusted me to do this.
So was he always a business partner with you?
From the beginning, from the day we got engaged.
And my husband refuses to become a business partner with me because he says that he always witnessed his parents who were in business together, and he felt like it just put such a strain on their marriage. And he feels like then it becomes and he's helped me like with bits on the clinic and then just like giving me advice and stuff. But ultimately, I find it really interesting because I think it's quite cool to do it, but I think he just feels like it puts a strain on the relationship.
If he's seen it like that, then I totally understand. And you know what? If it had been any other person, it would not have worked. I am not an easy person to work with. I know this. I really do. I feel sorry for anyone that works with me. Before they even come and work with me, I tell them I've got really high standards. I work like a crazy person. Like, it's best if you go and save yourself and run away from me. Like, I really. And he's one of the only people.
Were you like this when you were 6?
So I'm dyslexic, and I went to one of the top schools in the country. And
when were you diagnosed?
I never was diagnosed until I got to medical school. I diagnosed myself in the dyslexia lecture. Yeah. When I'm suddenly getting 100%. And I was like, it's not funny.
Diagnosed yourself in the dyslexia lecture.
Did you have dyslexia with spelling though and no one noticed?
I just thought I was thick. Yeah. I just thought I was just slower and like just stupid, really, honestly. So I remember you have to stand up and you'd read, and all the letters be jumbled up, and I just thought that's normal, right? Because I don't know what other people are seeing. All I know is that I can't seem to read this thing, and everyone's reading fluently. Like, I must be thick, and so I worked like a crazy person. So it was sheer hard work. It's like, I'm going to outwork everybody 10-1. So I remember even my English teacher telling me, Vanita, you're not going to get a C. And I was like, I can't get into medical school with a C. And so I would do 10 essays a night, each essay is an hour. And I would come back the next day with 10 essays and I'd make her mark it. Like, I was such a psycho when it came to studying.
That shows about determination, because I think that neurodivergence is so poorly understood. And I do feel, for example, that we really need to revisit the school system. Like, I'm late diagnosed ADHD, and also like I failed my 11 plus.
Oh, me too.
When I went to secondary school, it was a very artistic school, and I remember the headmaster or whoever was interviewing me had written not very clever but might be good at drama. And in my school, no one was interested in dentistry because most people did want to go into the arts and drama and all that kind of thing. I really wanted to be a dentist. Right. And just like you, I just really focused. I wasn't one of these people. I couldn't do last minute revision. No. I had to do 3 months before the exam, write it out. And the repetition piece was really important for me. And obviously I did end up getting into dental school. And then I realised that my brain was really into English and philosophy and then chemistry and biology. But the problem is that neurodivergent brains are treated like a problem. And I think it's like the stats show a lot more people are neurodivergent than neurotypical. Yeah. And that could be things like dyslexia, ADHD, autism, all these different things, and people treat it like it's a problem. But I find it crazy. I mean, you'd know better with both your kids. Like, has the curriculum changed that much since we were at school?
They give a lot of like, oh, you can have extra time in exams if you've got a diagnosis of something.
But has the actual
half
stuff?
The class gets that, by the way. Half the class get extra time for their exams. And when I talk to my kids about their friends who are on medication, which you might have been on if you were a kid today.
I wasn't.
That happens, right?
Well, a lot of them on like ADHD meds and things like that.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 of my daughter's friends, or my son. Yeah, it's common these days. One thing my daughter said to me was that a lot of times it's more for the class than for the kid.
In what way?
As in the kid, is compliant when he's on his medication.
Yeah.
But you know when they're off their medication because they're such amazing people. And it's a sad thing.
Well, this is the thing. I spoke to a friend of mine who's a model, very successful, yesterday, and we were talking about ADHD medications, and she said to me that she tried it, but it stunted all of her creativity. And I find that interesting because when you look at a lot of people, particularly when it comes to media and the way that they think, a lot of people do have ADHD. And when I used to think of ADHD, because obviously I wasn't diagnosed in school, I wasn't your typical person because I wasn't climbing up the walls, which was what you'd have, the boy that would go crazy if he had Haribo, like he needs Ritalin. That was the sort of stigma we had. But I think it's just a lot more nuanced than that, because like you said, dyslexia, you might immediately, because of your own biases, be like, that's the person that can't spell, read or write, and not recognise that like it's a doctor. Do you know what I mean? It's somebody that's incredibly intelligent.
But the way you're talking about sort of that obsessive kind of side of you,
it's too much, even for me. This is why I give myself palpitations.
No, your biggest strength is your biggest weakness, right? Often, right? Yeah. So I'll get to what is the problem side of it, because obviously the plus side looks quite obvious. You're achieving loads and all of that, but really, what I'm quite interested in is what was the trigger for it? Like, were you always that?
So first of all, I'm a child of immigrants, and I think that is really important.
Where did they come from?
So from Kenya, South Africa.
So many.
I know. We've been there for 100 years, actually. So even though we're Indian.
No, but the top people I speak to.
Yeah, it's true. There's an amazing dentist that's starting with me from Kenya, actually.
Yeah.
Ankit. Don't know if you know him. He's very, very, very talented, very hardworking. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so coming from that immigrant mentality, they were already in survival state.
Yeah.
And if they're looking at their child and the child is struggling, it's just pure anger, right? Like they let's be real. And so for that's their translation of love, or like they're in fear state. And so you are absorbing their fear state. And all you can do, the only thing in your power is to work. That's all you can do. You can outwork everybody. That's the only thing that you can control. You can't control how intelligent you are. You can't control how you're reading. There's so much not in your control, but this you can control. And so
can we talk about sacrifice?
Yeah, I didn't have a child. Like I didn't have a childhood, but I didn't have to go out. I didn't have friends. I wasn't allowed out. Would
your parents put that forward?
Yes.
But what about now though?
Now it's very different. Now I'm in control.
But you're sacrificing something by being this obsessed with.
Yeah, I know. Even today, I was thinking like, when was the last time I went to see my friends?
That's sort of thing.
I don't,
you just said you've got 40 SKUs.
I know. Yeah? I tell my friends like I blow everybody off, and it's actually my fault, And I was even telling my husband today, I was like, why do I do that? He's like, yeah, why do you do that? And I was like, because I'm still in this warrior mindset. I'm not
with a product launch, it's like a wedding or something.
Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong.
But it never ends, right? For me, I have new products coming out. I've got 10 products coming out in the next 6 months.
So what are you losing out on in life? Are you not traveling?
No, we travel a lot, thankfully. So holidays are really important.
What aren't you doing?
Do you work on holiday?
Yeah, we always, I'm always making reels and content on holiday, writing scripts. But I do actually really enjoy my holidays. I think what I don't do is spend time with my friends. I think have girl time and just gossip and just chat. I don't do that, actually. I don't give myself grace and just go, I'm blocking this time just to have fun with my friends. Like that is never in the diary. And I think moving forward, that is something I definitely need to do for myself. And I really want my children to be different to me. Like I don't want them to have to, mechanically think I need to see my friends. It should be natural that...
How old are your children?
So my daughter is 12 and my son is 9.
And when they were first born, what business was launched at that point?
So when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had Ace Medicine. I was actually launching a restaurant which failed, failed in Westfields. The most expensive failure of my life. That cost me.
I've heard restaurants are huge.
It was I was 28. We lost over £250,000. That was like all our savings plus like our property, the the flat that we were living in.
What kind of restaurant? Indian?
It was no, she wasn't. It was teppanyaki, Japanese.
Why do you think it didn't work?
Wrong location. I never go into a business that has low barriers to entry because the competition is too great. So what I learned was all the businesses that I started that were medical businesses that you need to have a certain level of knowledge were all very successful. Businesses that anyone can start. You don't need, a certain level of degree in something. They're very, very difficult. Like you don't do it. That's my learning to myself and learning to everybody is higher barriers to entry, the types of businesses you need to get into. So I was doing that at the same time. So I remember that was a failing business while I was pregnant. I'd had like a knee injury at the time as well. So that was with my daughter, Sienna. Then with Josh, we were in a much better place. Actually, we had the clinics and we didn't have Ace Medicine anymore and the restaurant had shut. So actually we were in a much, much better place when it came to Josh's turn.
Okay, so my question is, how did you deal with motherhood and running businesses?
So thankfully, it was, when it came to the clinics, I was basically in the clinics at the weekends. So maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week. And then during the rest of the week, I was at home. Then my husband was working from home because you can work from, you can have a home office. And so that was actually like not terrible, but my daughter was from 10 months old. She's been at nursery, 5 days a week until 6 p.m. So I think I actually really missed out on a lot of her childhood because at the weekends I'm working. So I really was only seeing her in the evenings. And so when it came to Josh's time, I really wanted to spend a bit more time with him. But again, it wasn't as much as I would have wanted. And there is a sacrifice there. And I think it's only probably now that I'm spending.
But from working from home, were you able to do that?
Because the kids were at nursery, like, because we had to work. If the kids are at home, I don't know how people do this. Some people work with their kids at home. There's no way we could have done that.
It's too I mean, listen, I have a nanny, and the days that I work from home. So I work from home now. Like, I only go into clinic 2 days a week, and the rest of the time is like managing the clinic and doing all the stuff like content, articles, like all that stuff, and it takes so much time. But like, if my nanny wasn't there, because even though people are like, oh, you know, a baby that's like a few months old, I'm like, they still need attention. You can't just like leave them, you know, you just can't just leave them. So I think it is really hard, and I think it's a false narrative. Like, I don't think anyone has kind of worked out the perfect balance between kids and between kids and business.
You definitely sacrificing something. I couldn't even have a nanny in the house. I think that would even distract me. Like, when I'm deep work, I'm in deep work. I can't actually have even like a cleaner around or anyone. So it's amazing that you can do that. And then some people do it without a nanny, and they just have the child and they're looking after the child while they're doing their work. I have no idea how people do that. I think it's incredible, but we just couldn't do that. It was too hard.
Okay, so I want to move on now, because we've obviously talked about how it came along. So, it was the lip and everything. And I want to know something else. Have you always seen yourself as an entrepreneur?
Definitely. From 13 years old, when I learned about Richard Branson, I remember reading his autobiography, and it was such an eye-opener because he was dyslexic. And I knew he struggled at school. And if he struggled at school and he became a billionaire, I could be a billionaire. Yeah. Literally, that's how basic my thinking was. And to this day, that's one of my core beliefs, is he did it, so I can do it.
Yeah, I love that so much, because I always say, and this is something that like differs between me and my husband, is like, my husband is incredibly successful working in a hedge fund, but he's much more of like a realist, whereas I'm more of a fantasist. And I think that's definitely like the ADHD. But I do think that fantasists are the reason why they get so far, because they do believe the sky's the limit. Yeah. But they believe the sky's the limit. Like you said, like if you look at somebody and you're like, but if they can do it, why can't I do it? And I often ask him, because the guy, his boss that owns the hedge fund is obviously a billionaire. And I was like, can you ask him, how do you become a billionaire? Like, how do you become a billionaire? And the interesting thing was, and I have to admit, after the Epstein release files, I do think there is an element of being unethical. I do think so now. That's the thing. And the thing is like, yes, even Richard Branson was in those files. This is why I'm saying, like, I do think the level of a multi-millionaire,
gigantic
the difference between that is like, there must be an element of you being like, do you know what? I am going to sell a little bit of my soul in whatever capacity to get to that next level.
I think it's audacity. I think that the billionaires have a level of audacity that most of us are scared to feel. We're scared because we've all been institutionalized. Why is it that these rebel billionaires become rebel billionaires, right? A lot of them didn't do well at school. A lot of them actually weren't institutionalized.
But with even Epstein, they don't know how he made his money. Like, as in, it's all still a bit of an enigma. As in,
that whole thing makes me feel sick.
But even with that, they're like, he was a maths teacher, and then he created this,
gigantic amounts of money coming in quickly. Yeah. Something's going on, right? Something.
Have you watched the Netflix documentary on it?
Yes.
Oh, that didn't even touch the surface.
That didn't even touch the surface. That didn't even touch the surface.
They didn't mention anything about like intelligence or anything. But anyway, but my question is that, like, what you said about billionaires, either you are a complete genius and lucky and all those things together, which is very few people, or there's an inheritance story, which is another, or something's going on. Something's going on. Gigantic amounts of money don't come. Billionaire is totally different to
multimillionaire. That's what I said.
And there's an insatiable desire to control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it becomes about power as well.
I think for me, because of my upbringing, my mission has always been for girls and for women. Empowering girls and women. I'm really grateful that I'm an Indian girl in the UK, because being an Indian girl means that I have the immigrant mindset. But number two, I'm not in a patriarchal community.
Yeah.
I can now imagine what Indian girl can do in this environment. But imagine all those Indian girls who aren't in this environment.
Yeah.
So for me, like, money equals how many women can I help? For me, that's what it really comes down to, because you can only spend so much, right? There's only so much status you can have.
It's about freedom. I mean, for me,
It
like,
is.
you know, I watched something. There was a girl on Instagram, I'm sure you've seen her and you follow her, but like, she calls herself the frugal chick, and she does all this stuff about like money, and then she basically says like, here is how I actually ended up getting a lot of money. She's like, sometimes you've got to look at money as being neutral and not dirty and unethical, you know, that like level of money. And I was like, that's quite interesting, because I think people are embarrassed to say, I like making a lot of money, or I want a lot of money. They feel like it's almost like dirty, like that association.
Like that. I think that's
but there's
terrible.
a lot of people that do,
But
right?
I think that puts us in a very
limited my scarcity
limited,
mindset.
yeah.
But also the thing is that mostly I think people like money because of freedom, because that's what it
the
buys.
most important-
It buys freedom.
And
That's
for women,
it.
that's really key, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
For women, freedom is everything. For decades, for generations, we've not had freedom. That now I think girls are waking up to the idea that they need to be able to earn their own freedom.
Yeah.
That when you have money, no one can say anything to you.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Why would anyone think that's dirty?
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all.
Well. I mean,
Tell
it's
me.
important that you steel man the opposite side.
Well, tell me, why is it
No,
dirty?
you tell me.
Oh, I don't think it's dirty. I think it's a good thing.
It's important you understand the other side of one thing you don't think about.
Tell me, what do you... So what,
You should tell me.
He's challenging you.
It's important.
why do they think that?
Why do
other
you
people
think some people would think it is?
I actually think I think it's coming from an unhealthy mindset, and I think it's a way to keep people down. I think it's a mindset that's been spread in order to keep people where they should be, keep them in their boxes.
Control thing.
Yeah, it's a way of controlling classes, way of controlling people, is by spreading. It's a false lie. It's a lie. What do you mean? No, but money can't be dirty. It's just a currency of time. It's a currency of effort, and it gives you freedom.
But it could be that and something intellectually honest as well. So can you think of...
What do you mean?
I think, I know that some people, so for example, if we look at billionaires and who we consider to be controlling the world that we live in, so whether it's Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates and all these people, again, people that are heavily associated with something like the Epstein files, people would consider that it's largely unethical people that are controlling the world, that don't really care about other human beings because it benefits them. And that's where the negative connotation comes, okay?
Okay, so imagine you became a billionaire, Rona.
Yeah.
You're nothing like any of these people, right?
Totally.
So is being a billionaire bad, or is it how you get there and what you do with your power?
I would say that, well, I told you, as I said, unfortunately, the sad truth is that the way that most people
Exactly.
get there isn't a way that is necessarily desired by the masses, you know? And I think that when you're surprised by someone like Richard Branson, who you think is a really philanthropic guy, and I'm not saying he did anything wrong, like, he was, I mean, yeah, but the fact is that he probably knew what was going on and was okay with it, right? And whatever. The point is that I think that that's why people would have those. They're like, these people are controlling the world, and also they're the ones that are keeping other people more in their box so they could be billionaires. So they're the ones. There's other people thinking, hey, we're actually not as rich and not as successful because the billionaires don't want us to be there.
But then shouldn't the thinking be? So I get that, but shouldn't the thinking be, why can't we all strive for that? Like, instead of like, that's a bad person or that's a bad person, because we can waste our energy thinking like that, or we can put our energy into ourselves and go, do you know what? How did that person get there? And is that a way that I want to get there? What is a strategy? What did they read? What did they do? And how do I implement that in my life?
I think it's all about personal happiness. Like for me, I've always been inspired by entrepreneurs. I've always been inspired, like you. I came from an immigrant family, but also like from an immigrant family that came to the UK with not a lot. And for me, I was like, yes. And I looked up to those people at school that lived in better houses and dressed better. But then I also have some friends, their values are different to mine. So they can't understand why I want to be so successful and why I want to make so much money.
I think it's like a safety net.
But they're happy in a life where, for example, they don't work a lot and they get to spend time with their family, or like they can go on a couple of holidays and they're genuinely happy with that. So I think it all is about your personal preferences.
Yeah.
I think it's more than personal preferences. I think they haven't seen how bad it can get if you don't have
everything.
it.
Yeah.
And they're lucky. Honestly, I think it's a privilege if you can live like that and not have to push yourself, and you're happy and like everything's going well. It means you've had a beautiful life. It means actually you haven't seen as much pain. People have come from pain and have seen you with nothing. They've got this thing in their belly, like it's a fire, and we don't even like it. We don't want this fire in our belly. Like, even after you've got everything that you need, that fire doesn't go.
Yeah.
It's a pain that you draw upon, and it pushes you further and further and further.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing if you can be like that, right? Like, I'm so happy for these people. They've obviously had a beautiful like upbringings and childhoods and come from stability. But if you've come from an immigrant, backing, your mindset's going to be different. And it's not, no one's good and no one's bad and nothing's right and nothing's wrong. It's just the way it is. Do you think?
Can I steel man it then? Can I say what it might be? I'm not saying I believe I have a company, right?
Yeah.
So I'm chasing.
We all have companies.
I'm chasing wealth, let's say, yeah. But the problem with chasing wealth, what are the problems with chasing wealth? Number one, what you're saying about what should you be spending your time doing to get to the place you want to get to as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Often, when wealth is the focus, you're climbing up the wrong ladder faster. Yeah, so it's not just an efficiency game. Yeah, it's a question of which ladder should I climb? Should I climb the one that gets me richest, or should I climb the one that gets me happiest, or should I climb the one that gets other people happiest, or whatever it is? So and these successful people you're talking about, outside of the the unethical ones, often their pursuit is something else. Money is the result of that pursuit.
Ideally, so for me, I can only talk about myself because it's hard. I can't talk about others. For me, it just so happens the thing that I'm passionate about, which, by the way, could have fallen flat on my face, right? I've invested my whole life into skin of color, and easily it could have not have resonated. People might not have watched, and people might not have cared. And I would have invested my whole life, my whole savings, everything into this thing. Yeah. It just so happened the thing that I'm passionate about, enough people could see the benefit, and enough people bought into my vision to make all those three ladders align. But it might not always be that your three ladders are aligned, and you're going to have to pick. So I fully understand what you're saying. And I understand that some people are going to pick different ladders. Yeah. For me, I'm just grateful that all three ladders aligned.
Yeah, but there's another dimension as well. We're all medically you are dentally trained. And, what is it to be a professional? What is that?
So for me, being a professional means you've done a certain level of education. You've passed certain exams that are international standards. And then you have a level of ethics. Yeah. So
Hippocratic oath,
but also, and more than that, is a respect for your colleagues and never doing anything to harm your profession, harm your colleagues, but also holding each other to high standards.
Yeah.
So pushing boundaries, and sometimes disagreeing with your colleagues in order to push boundaries, which I do quite a lot, because guess what? There's only about 8% of skin of color images even in medical books. And my whole research has been on skin of color. So I do tend to be in this field a lot. But yeah, for me, that's what it means to be professional.
It's an important question, right? In so much as you are a doctor brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are a doctor brand.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor brand. I mean, I happen to be a dentist.
Yeah.
But I'm not using the fact that I'm a dentist to sell anything. Yes. Yeah, that's not what I'm selling through. If you're a doctor brand, and we're saying being a professional is all the things that you said, on top of that, stuff like ethical stuff, like what you do when no one else is looking, as a dentist is massive, right? No one is looking at what you're really doing. Yeah. On top of maybe, putting the patient's interest before your own. Yeah. Then you have to understand this. When I say steel man, understand what the critics are saying. The critics saying, look, you're using the doctor brand to make money. Yeah. The doctor brand also represents the patient's interest before yours. Wait. Yeah. Of course. When you're running a successful company like you are, you're aligning the patient's best interest with your best interest, of course. Yeah. But it's important in every situation. If you support Palestine over Israel, super important to know what the Israelis are thinking.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be said for that, because I think it's really important. And again, I'll tell you this because I've been in the firing line of this. The first time I got asked, so as you know, I'm a massive contributor of ITV This Morning. I go on a lot, right? And love working with them. I got asked to be on another TV channel, which I won't name. Big TV channel, the first time that I got asked to be on. I went the way that I would normally go, went to hair and makeup. They do hair and makeup. And I went and I looked great. Then a lot of people DM'd me that had watched it and were really angry. I went on, I did oral hygiene advice. And the reason why they were angry is because apparently this institute shouldn't use such glamorous looking people, and that the medical industry has failed in the UK because we no longer represent the Florence Nightingale type healthcare professional. Oh. So this was interesting because I was like, I'm meant to look a certain way to make you feel more comfortable. And I do think that there is this subconscious bias. Listen, I am glam. I've always been glam. That's me. I'm Middle Eastern. You know how it rolls as well, you know, with Middle Easterns being like out there. But the fact is that he thinks that I'm more trustworthy and more believable if I look like Florence Nightingale, who helped like war victims, right? So I do think, and then he started berating me about...
Who was this person?
I don't know, some person in my DMs, okay. Right? Then started berating me about why I don't work on the NHS anymore. And I do think, like what Payman was saying, is that people think because we're healthcare professionals, there's almost like a misalignment because you have to be so indebted to the healthcare system that almost you shouldn't be worrying about things like money. I don't agree with that because I have my own private practice and I still have very high ethical and moral standards. But I understand what you're saying, that people do have this connotation of the way doctors and dentists should look like and behave.
I mean, the guy who DM'd you and said that is a dick.
I'm really sorry you went through that. I think that's just ridiculous.
No, he is a dick, but it's important to understand
why.
What was the guy thinking.
Yeah.
And to act on it and say, you should be like this, that makes him a bit of a
He might have
bit of a fool.
Things going on. I don't.
Yeah, that too.
I do think as well. And you know, the thing is, I did joke because did you see my? So I put it on trial reels because I was really angry. I was in the rain the other day, going on the tube, like really angry, like a little Grinch, right? And do you know about trial reels? So trial reels, you know, of course, you can post a reel on Instagram that you don't show your normal audience, and if it does well to another audience, they post it on your reel grid. So I was there pissed off, and on a whim I was just like, so if all the other dentists are taking private jets and I'm here on the tube,
I've seen that.
And it started to go viral and I was like, oh crap, you know. And the thing is, and then it posted it on my real one and I was like really embarrassed all of a sudden.
Why? It's brilliant. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, but that was the point, because also at the same time I think that there is a difference between actual success and what you're projecting, because certain dentists that claim to be taking private jets from one regional city to another regional city, it's like, but what's the point in that? Do you know what I mean? You know, just be like a normal human. Like,
but
I feel
that's their version of your brow lift or whatever. You know, like it's content. As far as they're concerned, it's content.
That's content.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually the other way. So my followers know that I've never actually, I don't know if they know. Hey guys, I don't know if you know this.
You heard it first here. Yeah.
We've never accepted investment from anyone, and
let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. We get offered it all the time, and I say no all the time because
why?
A couple of reasons. Number one, it means I'm very careful with every pound that we spend. Number two, it means that no one has control over me. And so for me, money equals freedom.
Yeah.
And I make some absurd decisions. So I'll give you an example. We launched the world's first mineral sunscreen for the body. It was a break-even product of a hero product. Like, imagine your hero product. It makes no sense for you to make it 3 times the size at 2/3 of the cost, which is your break-even price, and sell it. It makes no financial sense. But I know that my community needed it, and I'm the only one that had the formula, and I'm the only one who's going to go and do that.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had investors, there's no way I would have been allowed to make
I disagree with
that
that in so much as my biggest regret is not taking on investment.
Oh, really?
And my excuses were all the same as yours.
Tell me.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to interfere.
Yeah.
And it does some things I do don't make sense. We have stupid parties with, you know, that we spend loads of money just having fun. Yeah. Same excuses. We're in London, the investment capital of the world. Yeah. You could, if you got the right investor, didn't interfere, you go buy your 3 adjacent companies and, you know,
I can't even deal with my own one company. Imagine 3 adjacent companies.
My point is don't tell yourself this story of control and la 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 la. If it was like that,
I've heard it from too many.
Yeah, but there's a small downside of that, yeah. But the upside of if I inject 50 million into the business, yeah,
I don't think it changed my business. That's the thing. It's like if you gave me 10 million,
then you're not the right person to take investment. But
Yeah.
it does, the right person, like your your partner, let's say, for the sake of the argument, your husband,
yeah.
If he made a little business plan that if 50 million came in, he would do X, Y, and Z. It's a silly thing to say because no one throws 50 million at you like that, yeah. But we're in London. We're in the centre of everything. You're an amazing operator, yeah. So you leveraged, scalable, yeah. Could be an extraordinary. You could be the next Glossier or whatever it is. You know, like, I don't know anything about skincare.
I've thought about this and I just don't know if investment would even work for me. So for example, Sephora is where usually a lot of brands, like the dream is to get into Sephora, right? Yeah. And you need about 10 million, honestly, before you even think about Sephora, because you need stock in every like end caps cost money, everything costs money in Sephora. But if you look at the margins that Sephora takes and then the cost of my products, I would be breaking even. Like,
listen,
no matter how much investment you give me, it wouldn't even make...
Listen, that stuff is all branding exercise, because obviously I'm a co-founder of Parlour, and we're in all of the big retailers, Ocado, Sainsbury's, Boots. But the thing is, we don't rely on that. Like, getting into the retailers for anybody has never been... And I'll tell you, the girlfriend of mine that I told you that has the jewellery brand... I said to her, what's your biggest regret? Do you know what she said to me? Going into Net-a-Porter, going into Liberties, going into Selfridges. She was like, it absolutely slashed it. She was like, because they basically take everything and you make nothing. Essentially, she's like, yeah, sure, it put the brand out there. She's like, but if I stayed as a brand that was D2C, direct to consumer, website, that's where I was making the profit. And then you start getting caught up. Oh, but I'm in Net-a-Porter, I'm in this, I'm in that. Do you see what I mean?
Look, I had a meeting with, there was a very famous toothpaste. Well, I'll tell you once we switch off the...
Mike's.
Very famous toothpaste. It did look like it was doing so well, and it did do well, yeah? It was in every single supermarket in volume. You know, it was like they had whole shelves. I had a meeting with the number 2 there. I said, so how much money were you guys making back then? And it was like, £4 million or something, like turning over £4 million.
Yeah.
And if you went into...
Turning over?
Yeah. If you went into store...
That means that, by the way, they're making nothing, because when you're turning over 4 million, you're making 50p
depends.
A product.
Depends on your situation, right? But you're right, in so much as they slashed prices. You know what Boots is like, buy 2 get 1 free, you fund it.
Oh my goodness. You fund it.
Tesco said, bring us a different SKU that we can sell at, the same price as Colgate or whatever. This guy wasn't Colgate.
No.
Yeah.
Because you're not as scalable.
Yeah.
And especially with me, I put so many actives into my products.
Yeah.
I would be making a loss.
No, of course. But
I feel like the worst.
So he's taken a product that started out, in toothpaste, £12 is a lot.
That cheese.
It started out as a £12 toothpaste and it ended up as a £3.99 one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and my point is, even though it looked like it was everywhere and it was a success story, the maximum he turned over was £4 million.
There's so many businesses going under from Sephora right now, like skin of colour businesses in skincare in my world. I just think, and they look like they're doing so well. They had investment. They had in every magazine. Like, what more could you want, right?
Can I ask you something as well? Do you feel, because obviously we're a similar age, the Eurocentric beauty standards, did it have a really negative impact on you growing up?
What does that mean? White skin.
Like, white skin, blue eyes, blonde hair.
So I went to an incredible school, one of the top schools in the country, and everyone was,
what school
Caucasian.
was it?
Lady Arnold Hollis School for Girls. We were the 4th best in the country when we did GCSEs and A levels. Like, really, everyone was Mensa students. Incredible school. Teachers were amazing. And I was one of the, I think, 2 or 3 Indians in the year, like everybody, and one black girl who was my best friend, like literally everyone was Caucasian. And I really struggled at school on so many different fronts. I think that was one of the fronts. I also was like, my body shape didn't fit the Caucasian body shape, my hair growth. And then also had a very strict upbringing, very different background, immigrant mentality. So very
was it
isolated.
Boarding school?
It wasn't a boarding school, no,
okay.
but I was quite isolated.
Yeah.
I couldn't really make friends because I had nothing in common. Like the conversation was
think,
everything.
And I do think social media has been great for that, because it was the same. Like between 16 to 18, I used to get scouted for modelling quite a lot. And then like the Caucasian girls that I was living with, because I did in university, were like, you need to lose weight. Again, like watching America's Next Top Model was so triggering for me now with the new lens, because those beauty standards, like I wasn't Kate Moss, I wasn't, you know, I mean, they'd always make me feel really like, they would call me the exotic one, which now I feel like is a little bit derogatory in a way, because I'm like, well, just because I had tan skin and like Middle Eastern features. So I am grateful for the boom in social media, and also the massive appreciation for different cultures and different types of beauty. And I even went to like Diwali with L'Oreal, and even though I'm not Asian, but it was so nice to see like the celebration of women of different skin tones at something like that. So I think it's been a really amazing movement, and has obviously also benefited your brand in a way, because people have recognized that their needs are going to be different from someone else that's always been advertised for.
Yeah. I think looking at my daughter now, she doesn't have any of the same qualms that I had.
Yeah.
Like her mum is a skin of color, like ambassador.
Yeah.
All she sees is skin of color, and she goes to a beautiful, amazing school, but a lot of the girls are also Asian. So she doesn't even like the thoughts that I would have. She doesn't.
That generation's different, though.
It's totally different. Like they're so lucky.
There's a really good side to it, which is
there is a good side.
Are you using pronouns?
No, yeah, I don't like pronouns, but
are you using them now? Because your kids use them, I'm sure, yeah?
No.
Do they?
No.
My kids don't use them.
Really?
My kids go to French school. Like, French school's very, very conservative in that sense.
I want to ask Dr. V as well, because we are running out of time. Can you believe it? It feels like it's been 5 minutes.
I thought we just started. I was just getting into my stride.
My question is, so what's your darkest moment in business been?
My darkest moment oh gosh, there's so many. Where do I start? I think, should we talk about like having children and
it can be okay. So what is your darkest moment? Not in business, in life. What has it been?
In life, I think probably something I haven't really spoken about, and that was having a miscarriage.
Okay.
And that was after Sienna, before Josh. And it happened in clinic. So I remember it happening. I had a whole list of patients that day at the hyperpigmentation clinic, and you can't cancel. And there's nothing I could do. Like whether I lie in bed at home or I go to work, like wasn't going to make any difference. And so I remember just sitting in the clinic chair, and like I had my sanitary towel, like multiple, and just having to just get through, and everything's cramping, and anyone that's been through a miscarriage knows how painful it is.
You knew what was happening.
I knew what was happening.
I think it's really sad, because I've been very vocal in my first miscarriage. My only miscarriage also had happened. I didn't know when it was going to happen. They knew it was going to happen within the week. And I actually went to go see my sister in Paris, and I got really ill and I was vomiting, and I went to A&E, and they thought it was food poisoning. But in hindsight, I really don't think it was, because me and my sister ate exactly the same thing. And then 2 days in clinic. And I remember having to get through the consultation. And I think that's because, and I honestly said it was one of the worst experiences of my entire life. Like I felt like I was dying, and I had to get an Uber home. And I remember trying to grab my phone in the bathroom to call my partner, because I was like, oh my God, this is unbearable. And no one talks about it. And it's like, we're expected to just get on with it. So I totally relate to that.
I don't think people realize 1 in 4 pregnancies lead to miscarriage.
Yeah.
1 in 4.
Yeah.
That means that if you get pregnant 3 or 4 times, like most women at some point are likely to have a miscarriage.
Yeah.
How far gone were you before you?
So it was in the first 6 weeks. So it was like pain, but it was like managed. Like I could do it by myself. It wasn't like I had to go to hospital.
How far gone were you?
Yeah.
I was like 7 or 8 weeks, and I didn't have to go to hospital, but I thought I was dying. That's how I felt. Like I called my dad up, because he's a gynecologist, and I was like, do I need to call an ambulance? It was that bad, and it went on for like hours. I don't know how long yours went on. The pain was terrible.
It was like the whole day, and I was like talking to patients. I remember them talking to me about the pigmentation, and I'm like blacking out.
Yeah.
Like I remember sweating, and just in hindsight, it's actually so silly that I didn't cancel and that I didn't just stay in bed.
Yeah.
It's actually like, what is wrong with me that I...
But I think that is the medical part of us.
Yeah.
But I think it's the medical part. I think lots of doctors and dentists struggle to cancel on their patients.
Yeah.
I feel like I cannot let patients down. Even now, I can't. The day I went into an emergency C-section, I'd done a full day at work.
No.
Yeah.
Let me ask you that. When you say people don't talk about it, is it that people don't, like your friends don't tell you if they've had a miscarriage or?
No, I think we don't talk about how difficult it is.
The actual.
Yeah. I think also it's the expectations of that women are expected to give birth. Women are expected to fall pregnant. It's like, just deal with it, and all the complications around getting pregnant, staying pregnant and giving birth are so highly complicated, and even the hormonal aspect of it. So I did want to ask you as well, like, did you have any kind of hormonal challenges running the business with your kids, anything like that?
I wouldn't even know. Like, you know, it's a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
You know,
You make me laugh.
Do you know what I mean? You're like at war.
Yeah.
You've got to get things done. But I feel like I've attacked my whole life like it's a war. Like everything is like, we need to get this done, need to get this thing done. It's, I haven't really approached anything relaxed and calm and worrying about what's happening in my body. It's very much like, we need to get X, Y, and Z done. It's now, for the first time at 42, my body is saying, no, you're going to listen to me. And the palpitations was like the first sign for me that you
wanted to slow down.
Have to listen to your body, and you can't run your life like you did in your 20s and your 30s. You cannot be like this in your 40s.
Yeah.
You have to slow down. You have to listen to your body. You have to do what's good for you. I wouldn't even, like, the question you're asking about hormones, I wouldn't even know. Honestly, it was just a blur.
Because you were just on autopilot.
It was autopilot. It was like, get through it. Like, next day. You know, like.
Do you know, guys, people, friends of yours who've had multiple miscarriages?
Yes, I do. And they say that it's like so traumatic, and you can see that it's drained them, because you know what it's like. Your hormones take a while to kind of like gain, and you do.
It's just psychologically.
Yeah, psychologically.
And then sometimes it's, you know, late term.
Yeah.
Giving birth to it.
I mean, I had a patient of mine, she gave birth to 2 twins that weren't alive. Like, they basically told her the pregnancy became non-viable, and she was like 7 or 8 months pregnant. Yeah.
Like going through a birth.
Yeah. So,
I feel like work helped. So I went back to work, I think when my kids were a month old, straight away.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad telling me I was getting really depressed and low at home.
And this was with ACE, right?
With both. So it was went back to the clinic.
Yeah.
So even the ACE the clinics were starting with Sienna. So I remember feeling low, and my dad saying, "You are. This is not for you. Like, you can't be this like stay-at-home mum. Like, you are." I was getting so depressed, and again, I don't think this is normal, Rona. I don't know if other women get so low.
I find it hard. Like, I couldn't not. I'm constantly working.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time. But I've taken that position. I do think there's a difference between treating actual patients and then running a business. And I've now gone into more of running the business mode, whereas like I focus on my patients for 2 days clinically, and now I'm micromanaging the business, because now I have a clear idea of where I want the business to go and what I want to do.
You must resonate with that idea of working in it or working on it, right?
Yes. So when I was working in it, like with the clinics, it was like, it's very hard to strategize. Right? It's very hard. It's two different brains, and
and working with patients.
You're in it, right?
Yeah.
You can't. Now my whole world is working on it.
Yeah.
I don't work in it anymore, because if you think, like, for me to go to the lab and make something, that takes me 2 hours. And I can do that once a month, and that's a lot. Like, I've got so many formulas that we haven't even ever made. I like make my own foundation just for myself. Like, there's so many formulas that I have that never even came to market. That bit's the easy bit. Then after that, for me, it's like the media company part of it, which is like making as much content as possible.
So like TikToks, YouTube, Instagram.
TikTok, everything. So that's a whole world. I've got 2 different teams that are filming for that. Then it's the launching products. So launching products, we've got a contract manufacturer who also fulfills our products. So that bit's also outsourced. And now it's the B2B. So now we're launching the world's first facial for skin of color. Right, how are we going to do this?
I'm going.
Yes, I can't wait for you to get it done. But yeah, so this is now the next part of the business, is working on the business. How do we get into 1,000 clinics? That's my aim, to make sure that we have the best, safest facial for brown and black skin in the UK and US.
And you're going to basically work with clinics, so like aesthetic clinics and things like that.
Yes.
So I am so excited. I feel like we need like version 2. I'm not even done here, you know. But we have run out of time.
Let me ask one final question.
Go on then, go on.
So look, the downside of being you.
Yeah, good question.
Is it that you can't switch off and you can't relax and this sort of thing?
Yes. So I'm getting coached at the moment. I'm getting coaching to figure out what parts of my personality I'm missing. And I think the biggest part that's missing right now is the caregiver part to myself. I've always looked at caregiving as a weakness. And actually anyone that's been caring to themselves or caring to others, I've not looked at that in a positive light. I've always been, everything's mission and everything is a war.
Did your parents do that to you?
Yeah, they actually regret it now.
Yeah.
Now they're like, we're so sorry, Vita, we turned you into the person that you are today. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do with that information.
No, you're amazing. You are amazing.
This came up in my other podcast. So do you know about Eureka, right?
Yeah. Eureka.
Archimedes' principle of liquid displacement.
Yeah.
He couldn't figure it out whether this crown is gold.
Yeah.
And then his wife said, look, take a break, take a bath.
Yeah.
And then he dropped it in the bath, the water displaced, he ran through the city naked saying Eureka.
Yeah.
The point of the story is the wife saying, take
a break. That's my husband always telling me to take a break.
Yeah, but you just frame it for yourself in that strategic sense.
I know.
But the break will be the breakthrough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one
strategic
thing.
sense.
I do have.
You're so driven by that strategic sense.
I know, you're right.
I do have a friend that's. I have lots of friends that are entrepreneurs. Payman is always enamoured when I bring all my guests on here that I choose. But I do have another friend of mine runs an incredible company. She had a department store that was inherited from her mum and whatever, and she stepped back from that when her mum passed away. And she started this company where she detoxes wardrobes, and she does it for very high net worth individuals, rearranges the wardrobes, and then she also then will take the stuff that they don't want anymore and then also like resale them. And she's become incredibly popular because it's something that people need, like busy people like us, and it's a massive detox. And she said to me, she's always busy and she's finding it difficult to scale at the moment. And I said to her, what do you want to do? And she's like, I'm going to go to Ibiza for a month. I've never done it. And I said, why? And she goes, I need to be bored to get creative again and come up with solutions. She's like, because I am so busy every day. I've not got anything. She was like, person. I need to start getting creative again. She's like, so I need to be still and do nothing. And I was like, there is something in that. And especially with the way that we are on social media, you feel like if you're not posting every second, every day, you're missing out on the algo and all this stuff and you'll be forgotten. But I think the internet can do without you for a few days. It'll be fine.
Agree. I actually had the best ideas on holiday.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
That's why you don't ever stop working, even on holiday.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And my husband's like, will you just stop, woman? Just stop.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. V.
Thank you.
And for those of you that want to follow her, she is on social media. Her account is brilliant. Dr. Vanita Rattan. Her products are amazing. I use them during pregnancy because I obviously couldn't find anything in pregnancy that was good for my skin. And I'm not saying that because I've been paid or anything. It's because I genuinely love the product. And I think she's an absolute powerhouse and boss. We probably will need to have her on again. Thank you, babe.
Thank you so much.